Hey y'all, this is Kim with Creative Escapades. Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me today. Let's jump right into our video and see what we can create. I have a 30-ounce modern curved tumbler prepped now with my base colors. I'm going to do a wood grain on the top and a hydro dip on the bottom, and we're going to do the wood grain first, and I've taped off with a piece of electrical tape how far I want the wood grain to come down to. So I'm just going to start by putting a little stream of the alcohol ink directly onto the tumbler and then move it around with my paintbrush. And I got a little bit of 91% alcohol in that little cup where I can keep my brush damp, and it will help me to move the ink and to get that wood grain design that I'm after. And also I can blot my brush on that coffee filter that is right there, and that way I won't get too much and it won't run on me. If it does happen to run, I can still just keep my brush damp with a little bit of the 91% alcohol and actually correct any of the runs that may happen. So I'm just going to speed the video up here. I started out with the Ranger ink ginger, and then my next coat of alcohol inks will be the Latte, and then I'll end it with the Sepia. And the more that you push the alcohol inks with your brush, you can do little short strokes and you'll get those little wood knot looking design that actually makes it have the wood grain. So I've sped it up a little bit more, and I've got all the colors on here, and it is looking really good. So I'm going to take my tape off and move it down about 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to use the alcohol inks once again, and I'm going to make like a horizontal design using the same alcohol inks in the same colors, starting with the ginger, then the Latte, and then the Sepia, and that will create just like a little board separating the wood grain from the hydro dip. And I'm sorry I didn't get it on camera, but you'll see it in just a minute when I go to dip it. So here we are outside with our water bucket. It looks kind of yucky, and I've taped off where I do not want any of the paint to get to. Right there is that horizontal line that I was talking about. I want just like a little splash of water to come up right there for where I put the decal that I'm going to use on this. And I know my bucket looks dirty, but all that is dried paint from previous hydro dips. And I'm starting with a flat white and just going to spray directly into the center of the bucket, and I'm spraying in the opposite order of how I want the hydro dip to appear on the cup. I want the white to be at the top, like a splash, and then the next light color that I use is called Tropical Splash, and then I used Sailboat blue from Rustoleom, and then I used the bright blue from Ironlak, and then I ended it with ink blue from Rustoleom. Then I come back with a little bit more white to go around the edges because I want it to have that foamy look of water when a fish jumps up out of the water. And I'm going to hold it, and I'm not going to submerge it all the way. I'm not going to twist it until I get it into the bucket. And then I want to make sure that I have all those colors on there. And then I'm going to take my gloved hand and splash the other leftover paint away. And there's the hydro dip. I think it turned out fabulous. So I'm just taking a wet coffee filter and just gently patting down to try to move any excess water that might be up under any of the paint. And now I'm using my air gun, and I am just blowing onto the surface of where I did the hydro dip to remove any water. And anywhere that I see paint kind of built up a little bit or bubbled up, I just press on it gently, and if there's any water under there, it will release the water, and then I can blow it off of the tumbler with the airbrush. Just go all the way around, and I really like the way that white and that tropical splash just kind of makes it look like a fish is fixing to jump up out of the water, which is what I'm going to do with my decal. So we'll just get all this done, and then I'm going to let it set and dry overnight before I start the next part of this, because I want to make sure that there's no water anywhere underneath any of the spray paint that I used. Just keep drying it and get it good and dry, and gotta make sure that there's nothing on the bottom, and we'll let it set. Looks great. I really like that. So now it's ready for its first layer of resin, and I'm using Frorizl, which is a 1-to-1 ratio, and since this is a 30-ounce cup, I'm using 15 milliliters of the Frorizl, which is a 1-to-1 ratio. And this is the little decal that I'm going to use on there after I get this first layer of resin. And we're going to let this turn overnight and then come back and do the decal. So this is a water slide. And when you're using a water slide against a darker surface, it doesn't show up as well. So what I did was I scanned the picture of the decal into my computer, and then I put the scan into the design space on for Cricut, and I cut out just the entire outline of the fish. The splashes, not all of the water splashes cut out because they're so tiny, so I'm going to have to use colored resin to get that water splash coming up onto the wood grain. But this will allow the decal to really show all the details and the colors. And I heated up the vinyl just a little bit, and this is just white Cricut vinyl. And I'm going to get my decal wet so that it will release from the carrier paper. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the surface of the tumbler around on that vinyl. And then I'm going to slide the decal off of the carrier paper right onto the tumbler, and then I'm going to work with it and get it to line up with the vinyl itself. And I did just a little bit of trimming in a couple places until I got it right where I wanted it, and it shows up really nice. And there it is. And I took a piece of coffee filter and just gently dabbed it dry, heated it up to make sure that everything was secured to the surface of the tumbler, and then I let it turn for a little while to just kind of make sure that it was on there really good, and I come back with another layer of fro resin. This again, I'm using 15 milliliters. Letting it turn. Getting it nice and smooth, making sure there's no bubbles and that the decal itself is completely covered. And I'm going to apologize right now because I was doing multi-cups videoing at the same time, and somewhere along the way I lost the portion where I added the water splash to the fish, but you'll see it in just a second. But basically what I did was, when I did my next layer of the resin, I took just a small portion of it and mixed in 3 different colors of alcohol inks. They were all Ranger. One was turquoise, one was Sailboat blue, and one was Baja blue. And I also did a little bit of white. And then I just, when I drizzled it on around the area of the fish, I used my heat gun and pushed it upward towards the fish to make it look like it was splashing out. And then I used my stir stick to give the splatter effect of the water around it. And here it is. You can see how that white and the blues are pushing upward like the fish is coming straight up out of the water. I love that effect, because if you've ever been fishing and you've seen when the fish is being reeled in, it's not just calmly coming up out of the water. There's a lot of stirring going on and a lot of splashing, and just think it really looks cool. And the white vinyl that's underneath the decal just gives just enough of an outline to separate it away from the wood grain and give it that 3D look. And just really love how this all came together. The colors are vibrant, and I think it turned out nice. I love this little fish decal. It's so cute. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and seeing the different effects that you can do with resin and the alcohol inks, and how you can give your project depth and bring it all together. And if you have, please click that like and share button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can do that now, and ring the bell. And comments or questions, I always love to hear your feedback. And if there's any questions of how I did a certain thing that I didn't maybe explain exactly in the video, feel free to ask me, because I'd love to share how to do things. And all of that helps my channel grow. and makes me very happy. The customer that has ordered this one has seen the cup and they are thrilled with it. She absolutely loves it. It is a surprise. It's going to be for a birthday for a woodworker and someone that loves the water in her life, and I'm happy that I could make this for her. Also, all the supplies and different paints and inks that I use will be listed below in the description box of this video, so that if you want to try to make one, then you will be able to know exactly what I used. So I want to thank you for joining me and taking your time to watch this video. I want you to know how much I appreciate you, and hope you'll come back and watch some more of my videos, and I hope that I get to see you in my next creative escapade. Bye bye for now.